Well, hello everybody. It begins day one of residential school genocide. What's going to go forward to the UNSCP 5, as well as the Elder Council of the UN underneath the UNSCP 5. I won't be giving any public details. The First Nations people involved in this to administer this education and presentation to the Treaty Indian chiefs in Canada will be done in absolute top secrecy. There will be videos released, some YouTube to be released forever for everybody to view and see as progress is made. What the UN chooses to share with the public inside that council will be determined by then. But everybody, as we embark on this, I am about ready to release absolutely, publicly at least for everybody. And why so much secrecy? There is a Crown narrative here. I've always stated the NWO. It's dangerous. It's scary to go forward. The narratives with Russia and Ukraine, absolutely taken by the Crown now to be used by them. I've listed a number of serious things we have hit just in the last 72 hours that are going to shock and awe all Canadians, I hope. At least those who claim to be on the radical right, as the radical left takes your narratives, especially by none other than the NWO themselves, led largely by Canada, as in you, me, the taxpayers of Canada, forced to pay for those objectives. If you thought the convoy, anti-vaxxers, Roman a dildo, and all the lunatic attached to that, well, guess what has happened with all those false narratives? The radical left has now officially taken your agenda, at least in the Commonwealth, led by Canada, UK, New Zealand, Australia, all the players, including, as I just finished breaking news live with Moody's Law, all of them, all the radical Democrats, wealthy, rich American foreign business owners looking to become expats, expatriates. Canadians, you are about ready to house IRS runners. America First, signed, sealed, certified in 1924 by the majority of American citizens. Now, everybody, this is not fiction. America First is not Donald Trump. He tried to make it his. Everybody calls I'm doing a live, almost like they need to ruin the video or something. Now, the radical Democrats, just moments ago through Moody's Law, are going through expatriatism, meaning to dodge the IRS, transfer their citizenship to the Commonwealth, to the Crown, to avoid America First. A devastating blow against all Americans. And Canada, front and center on this officially. I was in it. I watched the presentation because I'm going for my American dual citizenship. They certainly didn't like my efforts to end the Crown. I'm certainly hated by a small fringe minority of radical Americans who are anti-America First, anti their own country, largely within the Biden administration today. I finished it live. I was there live. The only one in literally 1,000 talking about ending the Crown. Of course, I was not well received. I was given no stage and eventually turfed from the presentation. That is what Canada is propagating. They've always propagated. To steal from America, to steal from the American taxpayers, to cheat the Constitution of the United States. This is the narrative which is also anti-Canadian Indian. They don't like what America did with the American Indian, and they certainly don't want to see that replayed and repeated. Humanizing the Canadian Indian, which would mean dealing with residential school genocide. And these radical Democrats not only are scared and are rushing out to become expats, legally dodge IRS forever, transfer their wealth into the Commonwealth, join the Commonwealth against their own country. They also wish to dodge all of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and the rest of the narrative that leads absolutely to British Quebec. I can go through the southern states and slavery, but that is not my mission going forward. I'm absolutely going to highlight the truth of America, the truth of the American Indian, those key northern states who participate in residential school genocide, and why it took the federal government under Richard Nixon, then Ford, to finish it off entirely and impose the reality of what needs to be done in real human rights law, led by the United States of America, led by the GOP, the grand old party. Many Americans don't know this. Democrats involved in league with the Crown are literally rushing today to become Canadian citizens before it's too late. As I said, thousands participate in this. Wealthy American Democrats who don't want you to know the truth. They don't want it coming forward. They're in line with the Crown, and that is the Commonwealth of Countries, Canada being number 3 financer, and that is only 38 million people in the population of Canada. Making it per person, we are the leaders of the NWO as stated. We pay more into it than 1.4 billion Indians from India, who are not down with this, not down with the constitutionalism of it all, and in fact are now looking at Russia and going with the Russian narrative, as well as China. A massive amount of population. Ladies and gentlemen, for all you anti-vaxxers, all you convoy people, all the narratives of Romana Dildo and the rest of it in the Nuremberg that you wish to put forward in a false narrative, the United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and many others have now taken all of your false narratives and are pushing them legally now attempt to usurp the United Nations Security Council, to throw Russia and China to the side, to control America and transform America from America First into America Crown, the United State of America. It's not going to fly. It's not going to fly. I have tremendous faith in the American Constitution that will not be done. The Canadian Indian is not going to get shot down, but I promise you, the narrative as of the last 72 hours with Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Canada's Governor General, sworn to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, sat down with CBC and cries out as a first person, a supposed Inuit whose father was massive, powerful financial ties to the former Hudson Bay Company, the equivalent of the India East Trading Company of the time. To put it in perspective, the day of 1867, when Canada was made the Constitutional Act of Canada, was the day the British declared war on South Africa's Zulu people. And to put it in perspective, First Peoples forced into the Indian Act that followed, those years from 1867 to 1878, the savage Zulu with wood shields, cloth, and handmade spears with stone tips. That was where they were in the evolutionary scale. Who would not give up song, would not give up smudge in South Africa, knowing they couldn't take on the machine guns and the British guns, gave their lives by the thousands. They charged ahead for their chief. They charged ahead by 10,000, were gunned down, 1/3 completely wiped out. Can you imagine the bravery of a warrior knowing that the bullets will put you down? But they kept going forward for their chief. They overtook the British for the first time in history. It is the biggest loss of such serious discrepancies in military technology. It was the first time in all of British history that a people's from technology and so far from advancement, but just for the heart and will of their culture, their values, their language, their song, their smudge, ran at the British from all directions with spear and wood shield, gunned down. 1/3 of the vast Zulu army eradicated, and the rest of the warriors overtook the British, killed them all. It was a huge defeat for the British that day. The Indians went on to be forced into the Indian Act of 1876. Zulus would fall later too. We would see the full disgust, putrid, of the very racist Commonwealth that is alive and well today. When we talk about Ukraine, it is a lie for all the First Peoples. Those are ex-Soviets. People of federalism, those Russians, they don't wish Ukraine to know anything of real federalism. Federalism enjoyed by both the Soviet Union and currently the Russian Federation of today. Having culture, language protected in the sub-rights of regionalism, meaning regional constitutions, that Don Tisk and Luhansk wanted, as well as the majority of Russian-speaking citizens, where the river divides Ukraine, because it was Soviet Union territory. Never, ever was it ever really Ukrainian territory. That was given in 1991, forced by America against all, which is America, against the Constitution of the United States of America. You will find presidents like George H. Bush rated extremely low. In all 45 ranked presidents, George H. Bush was garbage. Regardless of what people want to hear about that, how Americans feel about that, you would be surprised when you rank presidents according to the Constitution of the United States of America, according to factors like civil rights, social, economic, cultural, all of these areas, you'll find that what you thought or heard about a president, according to the greatest academic minds, greatest historians, greatest economists, when you put them all together, best of the best, and they go through on a set evaluation, you find a lot of these presidents are in fact the top percentile of the worst American presidents. How does Joe Biden, who is looking like being ranked possibly the worst president in the history of the United States, how do you have him with a small left fringe group who's now taking from the anti-vaxxers, the trucker convoys, all the lunatic narratives, all that I've renounced? The media is telling you a different story, but they are taking forward Nuremberg 2.20, which is illegal in the UNSC. It's a false flag operation. They're trying to make it real. Do you know how many signatures these lunatic left, nutty Joe Biden fringe lunatics from the left have gotten? 1 million worldwide. All wealthy crown colonials. You'll find your Prime Minister Justin Trudeau right there. Your radical lunatic fringe left. Those who deem themselves superior men and women, who believe that black people don't have any real sense of humanity, none whatsoever. They also entirely believe that the First Peoples of Canada are not really human beings. They're savages. They don't belong in any federalism, just like Ukrainians, at least Russian-speaking Ukrainians. This is the truth people don't want to hear. Residential school genocide is under currently a massive threat. South Africa, which is a democratic republic today, was created by communist USSR and communist China. 100% truth. Anyone can look this up. You can look at all of the UNSC works brought forward, pushed, pressed by, again, Communist Russia and Communist China. America finally got on board, NGOs got on board, the American people woke up to it. Now today, the push by the lunatic fringe left is radical Nuremberg. They want to create their own fake trials, just like Roman dildo. Like the anti-vaxxers, they want to change the financial targeting. They want to crowdfund, crowdsource wars. They took all that from Canada's convoy. Going into more, I can't make this up if my life depended on it. It's in all the news. I'm just telling you what is. Governor General Mary Simon, the Inuit, she classifies herself as, even though she is 110% a crown first-class citizen, famous, wealthy, and absolutely sits down with Queen Elizabeth II and states to all Canadians and all First Peoples, "It was the greatest day of my life since I became a human." First People, the 1876 Indian Act makes you all savages. This isn't me. This is the law imparted on you. A savage like Nelson Mandela and the United Nations Elder Council sought to end, who've given you a path forward. I've followed. I've crossed all my T's and dotted my I's for over a year. We're going to complete this process against Governor General Mary Simon, who is, if anything but, caring of her people or Canadians at large. She would see her own people dead. She has nothing other than a love for Justin Trudeau and the Crown. As she states publicly, the greatest day of her life since becoming human was being with Queen Elizabeth II, who at the same time of 1867 up to the 1876 Indian Act, crushed the Zulu people, murdered, destroyed them because they had song, they had smudge, they had all of the same things as the First People, but even less technology and less development. And they were murdered and eradicated upon that day that they imposed the Indian Act on all of you. They were able to fight back. You were too weakened at the time to stop it. Thank God America delivered through their Constitution. And the truth of everything is it's relayed to all the chiefs through this educational program coming, to those I've selected who are loyal to me, who've had actual time with me, are going to be administering that and nobody else. It will not be made public. We will see the outcome on June 28th, 2022 in the United Nations Security Council. I will not be renouncing the United Nations P5 regardless of what my filthy Prime Minister and the lunatic left do. I will not be entertaining, as I didn't for radical anti-vaxxers who've now been hijacked and stolen by the Crown. Look it up in the media. That is what they are doing. At Nuremberg 2.20, stolen from those that they prosecuted under the Emergency Measures Act. It's no doubt all these radical frauds, once arrested, were taken by the Crown, and now it's being administered on a grand scale by a radical left lunatic government. Now there's Americans, like I said, by the boatloads, Democrats from the Joe Biden administration looking to become legal expats, to avoid the IRS, to avoid America first, to run away to Canada, where they embrace the Crown, they renounce their American citizenship. I am telling you all, I was live today with Moody's Law right here in Canada as they line up all these thousands of wealthy, degenerate foreign company owners inside the Democrat family on the lunatic left side, all NWO, running to Canada today. I was there for it, ladies and gentlemen. You'll find everything I tell you is true. All of the convoy, all of the anti-vax narratives, all the way through to Romanoff, Dildo, are all going absolutely to the Crown Colonials, led by Queen Elizabeth II. As many of her prime ministers in the Commonwealth and international relations as she can muster. Mary Simon sold you all out. The national chief had me blocked and banned. Every regional chief threw me out except for, in the province of Alberta, the 49 First Chiefs, who I spent 2 full days of my life with, learning about song and smudge to give them a presentation to absolutely the chiefs to go forward with. They all renounced the regional chief and in fact disassociated and disavowed that regional chief. Alberta is ready, and I promise you all, as we go and tackle the residential school genocide and the real narrative that none of the wealthy first-class criminal politicians wish to be held account for. They want all of you Canadians, the slave class, which is the customary law of first, second, and third class, just like on the ships of old. It is you, the third class, the slave, who must pay for their crimes. That is what they say. And they will continue to kill the savage Indian until there are no more. Colonialism goes stronger and forward with radical immigration. Ukrainians promised full citizenship, hang out here for 3 years, get jobs. The job bank from the government of Canada now makes Ukrainian first jobs for all those wishing to swear their oath of allegiance to the Crown colonial system. It's the British Empire coming back strong, stronger than it ever was. A British Empire designed exactly like Nazi Germany, because they are Nazi Germany. Nazification, neo-nationalism. Hello, folks, from the right and left spectrums, NDP, liberal, conservative. You're not totally in the dark on reality of history and what is. Germany was a crown colonial too, with the exact same design as all the rest. They created the Third Reich. At the time, France had the Third Republic. Third Reich is Third Republic. UK had the British Empire. They all exploited and destroyed anyone not ready to swear an oath to the divinity of a human being. To take those not white or from the British Empire, and unless you were of royalty from your world and you were going to embrace their crown, you would be less than third class. You would be the savage, the non-human. Look at the League of Nations. Look what Japan took from the League and administered upon the Chinese and all of Southeast Asia. You want to see what happened to the Philippines, first from the Spanish and then from the Japanese, the March of Death. What Americans have gone through from all the crown colonials. American troops get executed. We have lots. We have lots all the way through, even World War II. And now we have dirty Joe Biden and this filthy, ultra-left minority group of wealthy Americans running from America today because they're terrified of November's Congress. They're leaving. They're coming to Canada to kill them some Indians, to have them some third-class slaves, and have savages to beat down. Because they can't do it in America no more. They can't do it anywhere in the world, not as American citizens. But the Crown takes that in. Drop America first, drop the oath to we the people, and embrace we the British Empire, we the first class, we those who will keep everybody else down. Do you want to be part of that? They say, oh yes we do. I couldn't make this up if my life depended on it, folks. I was hard on the anti-vaxxers, the convoy, the rest of it, because I know Canada, I know their system. And everything you crafted and in your attempts and in your narratives has now been absolutely taken by Justin Trudeau and the NWO. They're going after Russia, China, and the United States of America itself. I have to speed up my time frame. Everything I do, I have to speed it up, and I am being hit every step of the way. I don't even know, as a lot of people of credible standing have told me, I likely may not survive this. I don't know. I hate to make this video. I want it to be positive, but the reality of what happened to Nelson Mandela on this road he left for those like myself who could pick it up, at least to give an education to everybody else, which I will. Real international law, real justice, and I can promise you right now, the UK, all their Commonwealth colonials, Justin Trudeau does not want justice. Stephen Harper does not want justice. Jagmeet Singh doesn't want justice. I can tell you Aaron O'Toole, all of these don't want any justice. We can go back many years. Jean Chrétien does not want any justice. Paul Martin does not want any justice. I can go through literally nearly 1,000 politicians on this list who, through the UNSC, will be held to account as we seek real justice, and we're going for it. But just remember, folks, even though I can't go public about the details for the Chiefs, who I have tremendous faith in, will we win them all? Maybe not. And maybe some will leak it out. But I'm sorry, people. You see the comments. You see them all the time in people's false narratives that they've been tricked into. I can't trust First People and Canadians who may mean well, but you've already been hijacked by the Crown, who watches, sits in the waiting, who only has one narrative. First, second, third class, the slaves, and then the savages, who in a large part through world history are all the brown people, all the black people, all the red people, and the yellow people they deem to be in that, which is a vast majority of them. Canadians fall for, oh, it's communism, it's communism, it's communism. I am sorry, folks. The communist powers, at least Russia and China, historically have granted full democratic republic status to those nations who asked for it. They didn't impose no communism. Unitarianism in the Crown, that is supposed to be abolished, isn't being abolished. It's only getting stronger. And I live in one of the countries that is the number one financer of what you all see as NWO. Residential school genocide is going to be the theme each and every day now till June 28th, 2022. It's going to overlap all of this. I'm going to teach you why you can't be with Mary Simon. Mary Simon just threw every first person, every Inuit, Métis, on or off, reserve, seated or unseated Canadian Indian in the garbage. What kind of Governor General of First People status says, it's the greatest day of my life with Queen Elizabeth II since I became a human? You're telling me you don't know the history of Queen Elizabeth II and her whole family and the atrocities, the cultural genocide of all kinds of First Peoples? The day they robbed the Canadian Indian and put them in the Indian Act, the creation of residential school genocide, that went right through the United States because it was Canada by the British Empire, by Queen Elizabeth's grandmother. But she doesn't know nothing about it, and you don't either, Mary Simon. You say, oh, residential school genocide, terrible. But the greatest day since I became human was with Queen Elizabeth II. Mary Simon has sold her soul. She's the worst traitor. The National Chiefs have me barred. She's a traitor too. You have traitors everywhere. Everywhere. Goes beyond Indian, white, black, yellow, brown. Goes through all of them. That's the truth, folks. Too many calls, and I do have a stag and doe to go to tonight with my girlfriend Tina. Watch every day as the presentations get better. A lot of it's going to be kept silenced. But for all those convoy people, all the anti-vaxxers, all of those inside any of the narratives as of late with Nuremberg, everything fictitiously that you created, you wanted to do to pound on the Crown and pound on the NWO, they took it for themselves. Crowdfunding, currency of the electronic, and now they've taken the Nuremberg trials, a fictitious false narrative, to try and convince a majority in this world to throw away Russia and China so that Britain, the Commonwealth, the royal family, can once again rule as Nazi Germany and relive the real Third Reich, which is none other than the British Empire and Crown colonialism. The first creators of it, the ones who've never ever thrown it away. The royal family's never been as powerful today as they have been since before World War II. This is scary, folks. Extremely scary. Are the Republicans strong enough to stop it? Are the American people capable? Can somebody rally the American Indian? 6.7 million of them. This residential school side and my move to the United States of America with Tina Marovich, we're going to do just that. We're going to fight for America first as Canadians and a Canadian Indian. That's our mission. I'm going for dual citizenship. To save Canada now requires myself to get out of the cage. We will finish residential school genocide together. And all Canadians and all First Peoples, you best pray to God, pray to the Creator, whoever that is you believe, but you pray, because we're in some serious doodah. I couldn't make any of this up if my life depended on it. Look at the news stories. Look at CBC, The Guardian, all of the Crown media outlets. They're already comparing Queen Elizabeth II in her own words. Christmas, she tells everybody Jesus was just a man. She's God. Then she goes on to state, just a day ago with Mary Simon, she goes on to say, the trucker convoy is just like the Russian invasion in Ukraine. It's the same thing. It's as terrible as that. The trucker convoy, the use of the Emergency Measures Act, is the exact same equivalency of Russia and Ukraine today. Even went back to compare it to Nazi Germany in London, bombing when she was a mechanic, a tank mechanic. And I'm going to tell you all, folks, only a radical nutjob would say something like that. Only a radical nutjob would say that the United Kingdom in World War II was any different from the League of Nations up to that point, was any different than Nazi Germany itself. If you don't believe me, you're going to see every day as I go through residential school genocide, you're going to see me give you a story of real neo-Nazi, neo-nationalism. Russians call it that, but it's crown colonial superpowers. That is not America. That is not Russia. It's not China. It's not a lot of people. This is reality. Thanks. That's my video, folks. Share. Bye now.